Hello, sports fan. This is Stephen Hill for JustMyPicks.com, and I'm bringing you a very special top 10 breakdown of the best free agents that we have going into this NBA offseason. With the draft being just a couple of days away, I want to get into the best top 10 restricted and unrestricted free agents that have the chance of hitting the market. Before we get into this video, I want to make sure you're subscribed right now. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to this video. YouTube /JustMyPicksTV. Now to hop right into the breakdown of this action. You're looking at the top 10 best players that possibly could land in different places or transition to other teams. Now, you're looking at number 10. You're looking at Mr. Paul Pierce. In the playoffs with the Washington Wizards, you saw his impact with a lot. You saw in the Toronto series how he took over that series. And even in the Atlanta series versus the Atlanta Hawks, hit several key shots, even a couple of game breaker that won the game. You're also looking at some of the things he did helping John Wall, Bradley Beal, Gortat, Nene, and people like that. You're looking at how he makes your team better, how he's a closer in the fourth quarter. He definitely earned himself a little bit of money this offseason by the way that he played and carried himself as a professional, as he normally does. Nothing new, as his days in Boston and Brooklyn showed. He's still a premier player. He can be off the bench or he can even start for you. But what Paul Pierce does, he brings a stabilizing force to your offense. He can get the offense going off the bench, or as we saw, he can start in a couple of games and really light up the stat sheet. He's not going to give you all the rebounds and steals and things like that, but he's a premier scorer. And in the NBA, you want to look for premier scorers because as we saw in the NBA Finals, when you don't have offense, it hurts. It stings. It definitely is a black eye for your team. Now, to go to number 9, I know that he hasn't really played full seasons in a couple of years. He's been bothered by different nagging knee injuries and foot injuries, Dwyane Wade. If the Miami Heat show him the door, or if they disrespect him by lowballing him on an offer for free agency, you will see Dwyane Wade leave Miami. I think that with LeBron leaving Cleveland for Miami and then going back to Cleveland, I think that Dwyane Wade could possibly land in Miami. In Cleveland, excuse me. You possibly look at him possibly going out west to the Los Angeles Clippers. He can land with a contender. D-Wade still has enough juice that he doesn't have to be a starter. He doesn't have to get the 40 minutes a game. He doesn't have to do all those things. Dwyane Wade wants to win championships. He wants to build a brand, a championship brand. He already has a couple of rings down there in South Beach, so I think he still has about 2 more seasons in him. He could possibly come off the bench and be a solid role player for you. Coming off and leading a second unit and being the primary scorer on your team makes sense for a lot of places. Cleveland looks like they can land him if Miami does not get their negotiations correctly with Pat Riley and Mickey Arison down there. Now, number 8, Draymond Green. You look at Draymond Green, what he did in the NBA playoffs was phenomenal. You look at how he was slowed down a little bit versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, but by any stretch of the imagination, Draymond Green is a great player. I don't think he's a max player, but I think that Draymond Green is the spirit of the Golden State Warriors. He has the ability to leave because people will pay for his talent. They will pay for that energy. They will pay for that rebounding. He basically guards positions 2 through 5. We saw in the NBA Finals, he went up against Timothy Mozgov. He didn't have that much success, but he still showed heart going out there and fighting every single possession, even closing out in the last game of the NBA Finals when they won in Cleveland against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Had a triple-double. So he's willing to score. He's willing to pass the ball. A good playmaker. So you have to look at a guy that can handle the ball a little bit, who can also score in the post, who also has the pop and shot where he can hit a 15-footer. Draymond Green, a team leader, good for your locker room, good at chemistry guy, a glue guy that's willing to get his hands dirty, go and rebound, play defense, and he can score. So that is why he's one of the top 10 free agents this offseason, and a lot of teams will be looking to steal him away from Golden State to break up that chemistry. Now, when you're looking at number 7, Tristan Thompson, he made himself some money. He gambled on himself, and it's paying off. You look at the not only the season that he had this season, but the NBA Finals that he had. Not a lot of people can offensive rebound in the NBA consistently. Look at some of those games where he had 10, 12, 13 offensive rebounds on his own. You look at some teams don't even get 13, 14, 15 offensive rebounds a game, let alone he's doing this per game. You look at just how he comes to work. and plays defense. He doesn't make a lot of noise. He doesn't trash talk. He just goes about his business day in and day out. I think that having LeBron James's agent, Rich Paul, in his corner, you know that he's going to get one of those max deals coming his way. You know that he's played and done a good job to where he can reap the benefits of what his hard work has brought him. You're looking at how I don't think the money's going to change him. I think he's still going to have that workmanlike attitude, bring his lunch pail to the arena every night, do all the dirty work, answer all the questions, and go home. He seems like he's very productive in the community also, so that could be a good thing for a team that's looking for him. I think that Cleveland would be a fool to let him go. He has to work on his free throws, though, because in the NBA Finals and the playoffs, you saw that was a sore thumb. That's the offensive side he has to improve also. So he's still a pretty good guy as far as what you're looking for as far as a free agent. Now, to get into number 6, we're looking at Mr. DeAndre Jordan. He would be higher on this list if he hit his free throws. But DeAndre Jordan, let's face it, is he's a liability at the free throw line. We saw the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs use the DeAndre Jordan strategy, if you will, hack-a-Shaq strategy, if you will, and it really showed its rear ugly head. You know that he hit an all-time low percentage as far as his free throws made and free throws missed and things like that. So it was so many factors that DeAndre Jordan has to look in the mirror and better himself with each and every day, because at the end of the day, you are a professional. You're getting paid millions of dollars to play the full game of basketball. Not just defense, not just blocking, not just rebounding, but also your free throws. I think that he has to hit better free throw percentages in order to better his chances of getting a bigger contract next time around. But from an athletic standpoint, he is one of the best big men in the NBA. You're looking at what he's done and grown over the past couple of years. Just think about 3 years ago, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin were the only attraction in L.A. You look at how they could not score in the post. DeAndre Jordan brought them a little bit of scoring. His tenacity on the defensive side of the ball has really helped him also. You're looking at what he can do in somebody else's offense. Will he be successful in a system that's not Lob City? Will he be successful elsewhere that they don't have a Chris Paul or a Blake Griffin to have his back? So you're looking at DeAndre Jordan saying in the fourth quarter he may be a liability, but the first 3 quarters he can definitely help you score some points, cleaning up the glass and getting those easy putbacks, those easy touch slams. So those are some of the things that make him number 6 on this list. Number 5, you're looking at a Mr. Jimmy Butler of the Chicago Bulls. Jimmy Butler has not only blossomed late in his NBA career, but he's turning heads. From the defensive side of the ball, he's always been aggressive. He's always been an outstanding defensive player. But this is the first year we really saw him put together a phenomenal offseason as far as scoring. He ran out of gas a little bit in that Cleveland series, as we saw as the Bulls lost. But for the most part, Jimmy Butler has been outstanding his whole NBA career, been a high-energy guy. Tom Thibodeau raves about him. You look at some of the guys like Derrick Rose inside of that locker room that have a lot of respect for him. He has the respect of Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson. He is one of the key pieces why the Chicago Bulls held on for so many years with and without Derrick Rose in the NBA playoffs. You look at how they play their offensive brand in basketball. It's a grind-out style, and he has slowly become not only an all-star caliber player, but a player that you can lean your hat on. And you want to make sure that Jimmy Butler has the ball in his hands at least 10 to 12 times a game, that he can score the ball on offense, and he can also open up the floor for others, because Jimmy Butler does demand a double team at this point in time. So you got to make sure that you're doing those things if you're landing him, if you have other pieces. I wouldn't say he's a superstar. I wouldn't say that he's a number 1 guy, but in a number 2 role, or possibly number 3 role on a contender, you can definitely look at Jimmy Butler as being one of the key pieces to an actual championship puzzle moving forward. Now, coming to number 4, you have to look at Mr. Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol is one of the best big men in the NBA. Able to shoot, able to rebound, able to box out, able to demand a double team. You've seen him do so much in Memphis since coming there from the trade from the Los Angeles Lakers. And you're looking at just how good he is. You're looking and saying, okay, is Marc Gasol a player that you want on your team for the long haul? Now, Marc Gasol does possess a lot of the things that you want to do as far as big man. He's quality character as far as those things go. But Marc Gasol really helped the Memphis Grizzlies do a lot of things as far as helping them overachieve and helping Zach Randolph in the long term. So it's one of the things you have to look at if you're an NBA team, and I think that all NBA teams want him as far as having Marc Gasol. He's quality free throw shooter. Again, he stretches the floor. He gave Zach Randolph a 1-2 punch as far as him and Zebo being down in the post. So those are the things I'm looking for if I'm looking for a center with Marc Gasol. Now at number 3, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, just a year ago, was the Finals MVP. Looking how he played defense against LeBron, looking at how this Spurs team operates. Kawhi Leonard took a backseat to Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili for so long. Now that he's no longer that backseat guy, you've seen what he can do. When the Spurs didn't have him throughout the regular season, you saw them struggle. When the Spurs did have him, you saw that fire, that juice. He has to get a little bit more aggressive. Right now, he's still passive at times. But for a guy that is pretty good, I want to see him take that next step. He's right up at that Paul George line, right up at that under Kevin Durant line, that under James Harden line, to where he hasn't broken out fully. We saw the NBA Finals to where he could be that good, but you also have to keep in mind, Kawhi Leonard has not reached his ceiling. He has not yet scratched the surface of how good he possibly can be. But with the Spurs, I don't think they're going to pay him the money that he wants or he's owed. So then you have to look at other options. You have to look at what he can do moving forward with other teams. Is he a superstar? Is he an all-star potentially? Is he so many different things? His attitude doesn't say that he's all these things. You never know if they're winning or losing by the way he walks around. He doesn't have an energetic personality. But for the most part, Kawhi Leonard is maybe top 3 as far as these free agents go. Because you have to look at his impact with that Spurs team, and if they lose him, the Spurs will have to find another guy to lean on, because Tim Duncan is too old for them to lean on constantly. Tony Parker, the same thing. Manu Ginobili is fading. So they have to lock up Kawhi Leonard as soon as possible, but I don't think they're going to have the money to do that. But it's just one of those things. But moving on to number 2, LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge, going into last season, dealt with so many injuries, and he still played well. You look at the thumb injury, you look at the calf injury. He's done well through so much in Portland. You look at Damian Lillard as being his 1-2 punch as far as his running mate in Portland. And you look at the landscape in the NBA and you say, is there a better smaller power forward in the NBA than LaMarcus, who can rebound, who can pass the ball well, who can score efficiently. So you're looking at, he's a defensive liability at times because he doesn't defend the rim well, but what he gives you on the offensive end is just as good. You're looking at how he's helped Portland come out from one of the bottom teams in the NBA to a potential playoff championship team. You look at the pieces that they had this year, a lot of them got injured. A lot of their shooters got injured, Wesley Matthews, and what could they have been if they were a healthy unit? Just looking at that sky in Portland and seeing how bright it could be, if he leaves, I think it would be a major mistake. Only because if he goes to Dallas, let's say he goes to Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki is old, on his last leg. Do you really think teaming him with Tyson Chandler and Dirk is really going to get the job done for an NBA championship? I don't think so. Do you think that him going to the Spurs, teaming up with Tim Duncan, and if they sign him, they more than likely won't be able to afford Kawhi Leonard. Do you think that kind of rotation with a Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, do you think that could get them over the hump? I don't think so. I think his best bet is to stay put in Portland with Damian Lillard and build off those things. I know that you can attract a couple of good free agents there. You look at what they have when Matthews comes back and he's healthy. That team was rotating on all cylinders before Matthews got hurt. And you look at just how important he was to that team. I think that Aldridge is just as equally important, if not more. You look at how he carries himself on the basketball court and how he's able to transition and help that team win games, game in and game out, each and every night. Now, those are just some of the things that make Aldridge special. But I think that his floor vision, some of the things that he does that does not show on paper, I think those are going to be the big things moving forward that help him really establish himself moving forward as a dominant player in the NBA. I think that he has to take that next step in solidifying himself more than just a double-double man. But I think that he has the potential and talent to do it. About to hit age 30, you're looking at what he can do. But now, looking at number one, of course, LeBron James. LeBron James more than likely is going to opt out of his contract and is more than likely going to be year to year with his contracts with Cleveland, only to hold them up against the wall and say, look, you got to improve each and every year or I'm leaving. You know that LeBron James more than likely is not going to leave Cleveland in the next year or two unless there's some all hell break loose situation. But what I will say, LeBron James is going to change the way we look at NBA free agents. He's empowering himself. He's putting himself in a GM mode almost. He's sitting back and saying, I want to make sure these decisions are made in my best interest and making sure the teammates that I play with are going to help me win a championship. So he's holding the Cleveland Cavaliers accountable, and he's also making sure that these guys are putting together the best quality product and spending the money as needed. You know, he's going to take a max deal for the 1 year deal. He's doing the Jordan thing. In the last couple of years, Jordan was in Chicago. He said, look, I ain't got no time for that. I want to be paid maximum amount of my value. I've taken a pay cut for so long. Now it's looking about me earning my money. So those are the top 10 free agents. Honorable mentions, you have to look at DeMarre Carroll of the Atlanta Hawks, who played his butt off to become a starter. You look at Rajon Rondo after his tragic time in Dallas. He's looking like a Los Angeles Laker at this point because Kobe's been salivating over him. And also Goran Dragic, that Miami took him in a trade from Phoenix, but I wouldn't call him a max player. I think that Miami Heat may have to offer him that. But looking at all those free agents, I think that this is one of the best free agent classes potentially that we can see. I think that the landscape will be shaped and moved from some of these moves that are made in the NBA this offseason. Also, the NBA draft will have a big impact over where some of these guys go in their career. But at the end of the day, this is the top 10 players that are free agents, restricted or unrestricted. I want to know what you guys think. Check me out at justmypicks.com for all the breaking news, all the updates, all the stats. Also, check me out on YouTube, YouTube.com/JustMyPicksTV. And as always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, YouTube.com/JustMyPicksTV. Thank you very much for viewing. Check us out next week for all the updates and all the exclusive content here at JustMyPicks.com. Thank you so very much and have a great Father's Day.